My name is Wisdom Thomas. I already have my guest on the line. I'm talking about Dr. Okorafor Okaiwo, who is the former chairman of Ohafia local government. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Wisdom. Good morning, audience.
Let me get your initial reaction to that particular ruling yesterday. I mean, it has left Nigerians excited. Whether or not it's actually going to achieve the objective of autonomy for local government remains to be seen. But do you think it's a massive step towards the right direction?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I think I am very excited, very excited that the Apex Court has been able to at least put something on the table for us to be able to ruminate on. The issue of local government autonomy is something that Nigeria so much desires, The judgment yesterday is something that has given hope to Nigerians that at least at the end of the day, the people at the grassroots level will be able to experience true democracy that will yield dividends, So, as you rightly said, the judgment is a pronouncement that gives hope, and of course, I know the state governors will be looking at the judgment. I know the local government chairman, under the auspice of AGON, will be looking at the judgment, and also the lawmakers will also be looking at the government, because I keep saying that the issue of local government autonomy is a constitutional matter. As you all know, the Supreme Court can only interpret the Constitution. They cannot rewrite the Constitution. The problem with the local government today is with the Constitution that clearly, to me, pay lip service to the issue of the third tier of government. It's actually not. Having experienced the local government
before we begin to look at the lapses, I perceive there could be areas that judgment did not touch. We will talk about that down the line. But of what significance was that judgment, especially to the continuous call for the autonomy of the local government vis-a-vis the people who are on the ground, who are meant to feel the impact of true democracy?
The significance of that judgment basically is that the local government authorities should have their money directly. In the past, there was this aberration where, state governors collect the money and they dish out piecemeal, peanuts to local government chairmen to run the local government system. And that clearly did not provide the dividends of democracy to the people at the grassroots. So for me, the importance of that judgment yesterday is to clearly say no. The local government funds must be paid directly to the local government accounts instead of the current practice where it goes to a joint account. The local government chairman never see credits or anything from that account, except what the governors will just dish out to them to work with. So I think for me, that's just a take home from that judgment, that the funds will no longer go directly to the state governors. But if you understand the way people come into those positions, of course, through our elections, which Nigerians generally believe is skewed, through the independent electoral commissions of the state, it becomes also very possible that the judgments actually may not really have, provide the necessary gains, because, if you talk about the issue of loyalty, where a chairman is nominated, elected by the people and under the control of a certain governor, it's still possible for the chairman to still, return the funds. These are clear issues that need to be tackled. So for me, it's the right step, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Still staying with the influence of the governors on these funds coming from the federal government through the accountant general, does it put the governors under any level of pressure? Because according to that ruling, it has to be to democratically elected local government councils. That is to say, the caretaker committee chairman is not part of that ruling where it said the money will go to them. Does it leave them under pressure now? Should they now be walking around the clock to organize an election?
Very serious pressure. I was excited about that part of the judgment, because if you look at the transitional chairman, don't really have any authority to manage funds. And of course, you know that about 21 states in the federation are running under the transition committees, which is a deep aberration. So for me, that was an exciting aspect of the judgment, and that leaves every state with a TC, chairman arrangement, in limbo. They need to organize the local government elections immediately to ensure that people elect their leaders. And I know the governors are very smart. Of course, there's information that they'll be meeting very soon. People will definitely want to circumvent what the Supreme Court has said. And I think it's up to the National Assembly and the Algon to also make moves to ensure that these funds and the true autonomy returns to the local government authorities.
For a judgment that should have been seen as a win-win situation across the board, you've already expressed resentment in terms of the local government elections, where it appears because of the influence of the governor, maybe just one party will win all the local government seats. Are there things you think could be done in that aspect to maybe ensure that it's equitably distributed in terms of what is done on during the polls?
It's really going to be difficult because, as I say, it's a constitutional matter. The Constitution provides that local government elections will be conducted by state independent electoral, commissions. And of course, the appointment of the leaders and memberships of those commissions, of course, are usually political for patronage, and usually directives are given. So it's clearly, it's clear that you should be expecting one party to sweep the polls, and of course, the chosen candidates or aspirants that become candidates will become the chairman, because they will do the biddings of the government. So I am thinking this is the first step. We'll now begin to look at the laws to see how we can create a new local government electoral system for the federation, not under the authority of the state governors. The same argument you have with state police is the same argument you can have for state electoral independent electoral commissions. They can be manipulated. Governors are very powerful, so it's very difficult to say you can have an independent institution that will, prescribe electoral processes that will actually be carried through. So we still have a problem, but I believe we've taken the first step, and we need to continue to work on it until we arrive at a very, very, mutually benefiting, situation for everybody in the country.
There are key more issues we are going to discuss, especially in terms of your experience. But before we get to that point, that ruling equally was explicit in terms of saying the funds will not go to local government or to state governments that were not did not conduct elections for their own local government chairman. Withholding the fund, is it the best way to manage the situation?
Yeah, it's the best way, and of course that puts the pressure, the needed pressure. There's a needed pressure, required pressure. So if you withhold the funds, the governors will no longer have access to the funds to be able to use. So that will initiate a process, the local government elections. At least let's start with that process. People need to elect their leaders, and that is the only way accountability can come about. So it's important that this pressure, this necessary pressure, it's mounted. Buhari tried. The regime of former President Buhari, he signed an executive order trying to insist that these funds, will go to the local government directly. But of course, the governors fought it, and the NFIU could not actually, go through with the process. But I think this time around, the funds should be withheld, and so that the governors will quickly conduct local government elections, and the people will have democratically elected chairmen that will be accountable for whatever resources are given to them.
Looking forward to at least sharing in your experience. When you held sway as the local government chairman of your local government, Ohafia, how much were you getting at the time, and do you perceive an increment to that particular figure at this particular point?
Well, at that point in time when we were all chairman, for me, I described it there, what was given to local government chairman as stupid. And for me, it was an insult. I was one of the persons that actually spoke up against it because you can't, for example, give a local government chairman 5.5 million to run the whole local government. That's the total package. The salary of a local government chairman is 124,000. What they call security vote of about 4 million that is paid into the account of local government, for me, was a way of trying to twist the local government chairman not to say anything, because that money is not your own. Because once you're giving that 4 million naira, the traditional rulers, the youths, the security agencies, the market women, everybody that has a food problem will call you for that 4 million. So it was a huge disservice to all local government chairmen that served in here, especially during my time. I know and I've heard that the current governor actually gives a lot more, and that's why you see a lot of progress at the local government councils where there are innovations and things like that. You can't be a local government chairman, you're unable to innovate your environment, the offices are no longer functioning, and you just be running from pillar to post and you can't get resources to do anything. You make promises during elections, during campaigns, and you just discover that you can't even deliver on those promises because you're not in charge of the funds that were meant to be used to serve your people. It was a great regret, and I believe this judgment is going to really change the focus, will change opportunities for the people. And of course, I envy whoever is going to become an elected local government chairman with all the resources. I guess the person should be able to do a lot better than some of us did when we were chairman.
Still taking a couple of steps backwards to what we talked about earlier before now. Is it even possible to have an election where a different party can emerge? I mean, take for instance, Abia State is a state led by the Labour Party, and of course, maybe in the aftermath of the election, there will be a couple of local governments going to the People's Democratic Party, to the All Progressives Congress, to others as well. By any stretch of the imagination, is that a reality you think we can face going forward?
Yeah, it's possible.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Because of the governor or the government in power, and of course the leadership of the Independent Electoral Commission in state. It happened in Kaduna State, where some other parties were able to pick up positions. So I believe if you're a good person in leadership, you can decide to create, legacy for yourself.
We're due for a very short break. When we return, we will continue this discussion, still looking at the judgment of the Supreme Court yesterday, where the local government autonomy was made pronounced, and that has left so many Nigerians in excited mood, feeling positive that it's a new dawn as far as local government administration is concerned. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with the Flow of God's own state, Flow 94.9 FM. Still discussions on the local government autonomy, and my guest this morning so far has been Mr. Dr. Okorafor Okewo, former chairman Ohafia local government. Thank you for staying there, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're already reacting to the possibility of having different parties win different local government in a state which of course would be under a particular party. You were reacting to that question before we went off.
Yes, so I was saying it depends on the political will of the present person in government. We have our governor, Dr. Alex Oti, who had criticized policies and programs of past administrations, and I believe this is an opportunity for him to write his name in gold. So I'm thinking for him to prove a lot of people wrong, he has to organize a local government election that will be transparent, that will allow for equal participation of other political parties, and see to the emergence of councillors and local government chairmen truly determined by the people, elected by the people from different political parties depending on capacity. So for me, it's a challenge that I've thrown open, and I believe the governor, who clearly has stated he has come to change Abia, to give us a new Abia, would be sincere enough to be able to organize a local government election that will be very transparent, that will allow for the participation of other political parties, so that we can see councillors, effective councillors, representing their people and bringing back dividends of democracy. We can see local government chairmen elected based on capacity and experience to deliver the dividends of democracy. So for me, this is a challenge to Dr. Alex Oti, the governor of Abia State, and I believe since he has that idea of changing Abia, we need to test his new Abia with the local government election that we're expecting he conducts in a very short time.
As the former local government chairman of Ohafia, do you have an idea of how much is going to Ohafia local government in the present administration?
Well, I don't get the clear figure, but I know the local government gets close to 200 million naira a month. But I don't know the exact, these things vary monthly. 179 million, 180 to 200 and something million, you understand? But I know recently the local governments have been getting a lot more money, and I believe the current government is a very lucky one. They spend so much money have accrued to the local government in billions, and I believe so far they've gotten up to 52 billion or so for about a year plus. So I think they are getting more money now from FARC allocation, and I believe the local government system should do better.
All right, let's look at the ideal situation before I let you go. Let's look at the ideal situation. If everything goes to plan, what will the ordinary person in Ohafia, in Amebu, here in Ohafia, there in Arochukwu, there in Isukweto, what would it be for them in terms of the gains if things are actually streamlined? What will be the gains of all these people?
The gains will be that they will now have true representatives of the people, true leaders of the people that they can actually run to. There will be no need for rural-urban migration where people will need to go through Moya to ask the governor for a certain request. There are certain things the local government chairman are expected to do, so those things will no longer be under the state government. I don't know if it's still the practice. Currently in Abia State, local governments usually don't have internally generated revenue any longer because the state government took up everything. So those revenue generation items should be returned to the local government system. When they get money from FARC allocation, that will be enough money for the people to sit back at their local government council to decide how they are going to, progressively, cater for the needs of the people. So it's an exciting one. Of course, every security issue is local. So if the local government chairman is truly in charge of resources and is truly the chief security officer, he will be able to, ensure that security becomes the priority. The security of lives and property of the people at the local government will become his priority or her priority. So for me, it's a new lease of life for the local government areas and the people at the rural area. And we are praying and hoping that every Nigerian must key into this new narrative. We need to talk about it. We need to push for it. We must keep our leaders accountable.
Let me sincerely appreciate you, Dr. Ohafia Okriwo, former chairman, Ohafia local government, for coming on the platform this morning and, of course, bearing your mind on the recent development in relation to local government autonomy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.